is.
I'd like to welcome you to the Middletown City Council meeting of February 18th, 2020. If you could please join me for a moment of meditation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Skank, will you please call the roll for the evening?
Ms. Vettori,
Here.
Ms. Nenny,
Here.
Mr. Moon,
Here.
Mr. Mulligan,
Here.
Mayor Condrey.
Here. All right, we have some presentations to start this evening. Warren County Sheriff
Sims, if you would join us.
Good evening.
Good evening. Appreciate the opportunity to be able to come over here and just share a little bit and see everybody. And I know that it's only once a year, but I'm certainly willing to come back a little bit more often. But it looks like you got a full agenda, so I'll kind of make my comments brief. But Chief Burke, I just saw, congratulations on your new police chief. And you've heard me, many of you have heard me talk about what I feel very grateful for is the law enforcement relationship that we have in our county, whether it's Middletown, Monroe, Loveland, and then the rest of the agencies. We get along well, we train well, and it's just a good feeling to know that our egos don't get in the way of those kind of things, as we know that can happen in some places. So, but we're very grateful for that. We're grateful for the relationship with your city and just even you allowing me to come over here and share a few things. Many of you have seen the year-end report that I provide each year. Talks about the typical, if you will, data that comes along with collecting all those types of statistics that we all do in this business. The level of service that we provide in the variety of ways that come out of our office itself. Whether it's the calls for service, which is approaching 67,000 calls for service countywide last year. That number was pretty close to what it was the year before, and it does fluctuate some. The other thing that I did want to share, just a couple of things. I don't go through the report. You can do that at your leisure, obviously. But, there's a couple of things that of note that I wanted to mention. Most of you are aware of the jail sheriff's office that's under construction currently, but there are a couple other areas in our county that our office is potentially impacted by some other growth. I know Deerfield Township has been working on the potential building and relocation of their government agency, and when that would occur, the plan is to also build a new post that would house our law enforcement component there. We have 28 sworn deputy sheriffs assigned to Deerfield Township. As you know, or probably know that we provide that contracted law enforcement to that township. South Lebanon and Union Township is another area of our county that we have a contract with to provide that law enforcement, and they have already moved their government offices, if you will, into an old school building that they renovated. Really job there, and the plan is to move our deputy sheriff post into the upstairs portion of that. Allows more room there for them to be able to expand and train in conference rooms and things like that. It's a really small area where they're at. So there's another portion of our office that's I think the recipient of some good things happening. I wanted to mention two things of note, because we all are, if we are successful in any ways, it's a direct result of the men and women that are around us, and I'm sure your police agency is well aware of that also. But in November of last year, there was a head-on crash on 71. You may have seen it in the news, where a gentleman got on the highway, accidentally going the wrong direction, and it was a tragic crash that, as our deputy sheriffs arrived, there was a man and two small boys. One boy in the The father was obviously deceased at the time. They just kind of went with their training and scooped the young boy up that showed signs of life even before the EMS got there, and thankfully so. It's not normally something we do, but we did, and because of their actions, this young boy, after several weeks in the hospital, is back home with his mother and doing well. So we're would like to just recognize the two deputy sheriffs that did this incredible task and job, and very proud of them. The other thing of note in our county is that there was this robbery/murder that took place outside Lebanon, Oregonia, back in December. It was kind of a bizarre thing that happens in this particular area, but as it would happen. The teenage girl resident there, along with 5 other male teenagers, orchestrated this plan to lure this young man out to her house to rob him, if you will, kidnap him, tape him up, take him back to his house, rob his house. And as the 2 of the would-be robbers, one with a baseball bat, the other with a gun, approached this guy, unbeknownst that they were there to him, he was also armed. So he turned and shot the guy before he was able to be beaten by this bat, and got in a gunfire exchange with the other teenager. One ended up dead. The other one, we're still taken back and forth to the hospital. Both of them were part of the robbery scheme. All 5 of the males and the 1 female are all incarcerated now. There was 1 adult that was the one that was killed. The rest of them are all under the age of 18, facing murder charges, and will be bound over likely by the adult court and facing those charges going forward. Is just the craziest scheme. Long story short, our staff, credit goes to them. They did what they were supposed to do. They followed the trail, they collected the evidence, and in a very short order was able to lock all of these individuals up. The most recent one just got locked up here last week, and we're just proud of their efforts. Kind of was an area of the county that just none of those kind of things ever really happened, especially that kind of type of thing. But anyway, just proud of what these men and women do for each and every one of us. So with that, I mean, it's kind of the short snippet of what we have going on in the county. The jail, I was asked earlier, what's the status at? We're about 15 months, 16 months from moving in, so still a ways off, but if you've been down in there, it's progressing well. Walls are going up. They're hoping to have portions of it under roof in the next couple of months. So we have meetings every 2 weeks to kind of get that status update. And it's an exciting time. Sad that we have to spend that kind of money on such a thing, but we're fortunate enough that it's progressing in the way that it is. I know a lot of the courts are struggling to find, and I think you guys are well aware of the difficulty in finding that bed space if you need it. And it's hard to find in this area especially. So with that, if you have any questions, I'll certainly try to answer those. Otherwise, I'll
Thank you, Sheriff.
allow you to get on with business.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we're going to have Julie Joyce Smith with Butler County Auditor Outreach.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me a few moments of your time, and obviously you have a lot on your agenda this evening. In case of you don't know me, I am Julie Joyce Smith. I work in the auditor's office. I work for Roger Reynolds, and one of my jobs in the office is to attend quarterly council meetings, trustee meetings, and then twice a year I attend school board meetings. Just to kind of update you what we're doing in our office, what might impact you, what might impact your constituents. So the first item, not always a happy topic, but tax bills. They are due February 25th. So if you haven't gotten your bill, You probably should, so you might want to go online. If you pay through a mortgage company, don't be panicked. You always get the first bill at your home in addition to your mortgage company, because we want you to be able to see what's on that bill. Is your value right? Do you have your homestead credit? Do you have your owner occupancy credit? Things like that. Are you getting charged for an assessment you should get or shouldn't? So we always tell people to really look at the first tax bill of the year. Another thing is there are many deadlines throughout the year that if you wait till August to look at the second half bill, a lot of times those deadlines are passed, and all we can do is tell you how to fix it for the following year. So we don't want anybody to miss out on anything, so we ask you to take a look at your tax bills and make sure we're doing a good job. Going hand in hand with that, once the treasurer does the collection and certifies it to our office, we then settle it. We give it back to everybody in the same manner in which it's billed, meaning by levy type. So we will be processing advances for those who request an advance, and if the city is ever interested in that, if you are already doing it, great. And if not, and it's something you want to get your money just a little bit ahead of our normal settlement schedule, that's something you could reach out to me or have your finance department reach out to me, and I'll be happy to tell them what they need to do to get on the advance schedule. But our first advance is scheduled for this week, and then the second advance is the week after tax bills are due. So we'll be doing that rather quickly. And along with tax bills, I'll just stay on topic here. One of the things is every year a citizen who owns a home has an opportunity to appeal the value of that home. And it's imperative that they do it by March 31st. That's the statutory deadline. So if you're thinking when you open your tax bill, because you're now all going to run home and do that, when you run home and look at it and you think, oh no, there's no way my house can be worth this much. The neighbor across the street just sold for X and you've got me for Y, and that's a problem. By all means, you need to visit our website, look at the Board of Revision appeal process, or just call the office and talk to one of our staff members there, and they'll walk you through how to do it. It's a pretty simple process. Sometimes it requires a hearing and sometimes it doesn't, depending on the amount of information you provide us with your application. So that's coming up. The other thing is for those in the farming community, if you're part of the CAUV or the current agricultural use value program, which saves farmers money every year on their tax bill because we lower the value of that farmland for those who apply, the due date to return your renewals, because that is something you have to renew annually, is Monday, March 2nd. So we're just kind of out and about reminding those who this may apply to you, may not. There's a kind of a strangely large amount of property still in Middletown proper that still qualifies for CAUV. So it's the only reason I mention it, because normally I think, why is she talking about this? But it does, we do still have a presence in Middletown. And then one of my last items is over the last year and a half, when we've been out talking to folks, we talk about the fact that Ohio is one of 3 states in the United States that has absolutely no fuel quality testing. And hopefully that is going to be changed, because on February 10th, House Bill 499 was introduced into the State House. Local state representatives, Bridget Kelly out of Cincinnati and George Lang out of Westchester, are the primary sponsors of this bill. All we're asking is that we are given permission, it's a permissive bill, to allow the auditor's offices to check for fuel quality while we're out checking for fuel quantity. If you notice at the gas pumps, you always see the Ohio County Auditor sticker on the gas pumps. All we're doing is checking that if you bought a gallon, you got a gallon. That's all we're allowed to check for. What we would like is, while we're out there, because we're already there anyway, is to be able to check for fuel quality. The Dayton Daily News ran an article last week where they had several instances of bad gas in the Montgomery-Xenia area, and that's awfully close to this community. I will tell you that with Ohio having no fuel quality testing, when there's bad gas to be delivered somewhere, it's not going to Kentucky, it's not going to Indiana. Guess where it's going? We would like to prevent that. So if you are inclined or happen to know any of your state reps and can bend their ear, tell them that House Bill 499 is something that we as consumers should have protections for. So we don't want to be along with Alaska and Nebraska anymore. We would like to be able to be protected at the pump. And then my final item is with this soggy spring and past fall that we've had a disproportionate amount of property damage claims, and that may be something that you may not know that you can do. If your home or your properties have sustained damage due to some sort of natural disaster, high winds, rain, fire, things of that sort, you can fill out a form with our office to get a little bit of relief on the value while you're in the process of fixing it. It does not cover personal property items such as appliances and things like that, but it has to be structural damages. Roofs come to mind more frequently than anything else. We are reaching out currently to all the local fire departments to work with the Chiefs Association. We're trying to get some sort of quarterly report that can come to us. We're not asking for them to do a lot more work, but we would love to be able to take the information that they already gather and look at it. I mean, we're looking for major structural damage so that we could perhaps maybe beat the owner to the punch and show up with the form and say, here, fill this out. We realize you've had a tragic loss and we don't want you to down the road be thinking, oh, I didn't realize I could have filed something. And again, there are deadlines that are tied to it, so we don't want, we want to be part of the solution, not a continuing part of the agony and the problem. So that's pretty much my spiel for tonight. If you have any questions, I'm happy to entertain them. Again, if you want to call me at the office, I'm happy to talk to you anything on if it's a personal thing on your own home, or maybe your neighbor, your elderly neighbor, you're concerned about them, by all means, give me a call.
Thank you. I know we as a city are happy to take that property tax advance early, and we are working on that. And just one clarification on House Bill 499, that's a state issue, or is that something we should look at locally?
It's a state issue.
Okay, I
but
just want to confirm that.
We have the support of the Ohio Township Association, the Ohio Farm Bureau, and the Department of Agriculture right now are kind of behind it. So we're hoping that it gets some speed and that we can get this thing passed before they end session. So
Great, thank you. Anyone else?
thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Karen Maney and Verlena Stewart with the CBI update.
I believe we were also joined by Dan Allnut, who's the president of the CBI board.
My name is not Karen. She'll be joining us shortly. I'm Dan Allnut. Most of you know me. A few new faces on council. Congratulations to the mayor and Councilwoman Nenny to joining the group. My name's Dan. I work for Casper & Casper. I'm a local practicing attorney. But the reason I'm here tonight is because I am the chair of the Community Building Institute. And the Community Building Institute has been around for a while. We greatly appreciate your support in the past and continued support. You may know us as the community center in Middletown, but we do a lot more than that. And so I'm just here tonight to share some of that with you and introduce Karen to you. So I thanked you for your past support. I want to officially thank our executive director, Karen Maney, and our program director, Verlena Stewart, who are both here. Karen's there and Verlena there. They are the brains of the operation. They help us function. They do an amazing job for our organization, and we greatly appreciate it. We've had an exciting year in 2019. We look forward to a great year in 2020. Like I said, we're not just the community center. We do a lot of different things besides that. A couple highlights for me are our Parent Resource Center, where we help underprivileged families and especially mothers in the community who need assistance. I like that particular program because we actually directly help these people with things like diapers and formula and things like that. I also really like our Career Center, which is kind of a new part of our organization. We've carved out part of the community center where people can come in, work on their resume, and find job opportunities in the community. So I think that's a really positive development. And then the RISE mentoring program and the Future Center are very exciting programs that we have. We're going into the high school, particularly Middletown High School, meeting with the kids and actually getting one-on-one mentoring with kids that are interested in different industries, different jobs, different futures for them. And so it's an exciting thing that we do. Those are just highlights. I'm going to let Karen get into the details, but my last thing I'd like to share is just how proud I am to be part of this organization. It does so much good work for the people in Middletown, and I'm just so excited to be a part of it. We're extremely blessed to have Karen Maney, Verlena Stewart here with us tonight, and I'll yield the rest of my time to Karen Maney.
Thanks, Dan. Do you want to click for yourself? Or you want me to?
That would be lovely.
Fantastic.
Good evening. Thank you again, Susan, for inviting us to come and share again on the Community Building Institute. Community Building Institute is, our mission is to be a creating and sustaining force for community revitalization. We do it by transforming Middletown one student, one family, and one neighborhood at a time. We do that by helping families move from at-risk to stable to thriving, because we know that when families thrive, communities thrive. Our home base, as Dan said, is Robert Sunny Hill Community Center, but we're way more than that. But most of our programming happens there, so it's kind of synonymous. So the ways that we help families to move from to thriving is through our Cradle to Career programming. So currently we have 2 community health workers that provide infant mortality support, so especially targeted at African American babies. So African American babies are dying to 3 to every 1 white child that's being born. So we really have been focusing on that. The Parent Resource Center, which Dan talked about, which is our early education initiative to help identify families who do not have their kids in an early education program. We help them get connected as well as we educate them to that. We do have the RISE after-school program and summer camps. We offer them both at Rosa Parks, Amanda Elementary, and Middletown High School. We offer, this is new this past year, we offer community service classes for youth 14 through 18. So the juvenile courts actually refer their kids to us. We're one of the few agencies in Middletown that have a consistent, regular schedule that provides life skill classes, and they can meet their community service hours. And we also have our after-school and evening programs at the Robert Sunny Hill Community Center, and that is rocking, and I'll tell you more about that in just a moment, as well as Employment Center and GED ESL classes. So it's kind of the cradle to career continuum. Wanted to share with you our financials. So our total income, this is as of the end of fiscal year, June 30th, 2019. We had a total income of $1,206,195. I think I said that wrong, but it's close. I wanted to do a breakdown for you of the different programming costs. So the grants make up the biggest portion of our income, which is 69%. We have contributions that make up 16% of that, programs at 2%, but more for you guys, City of Middletown makes up about 8% on the contract that you provide, as well as the CBDG, which is about 5% of our overall budget. Our total expenses, a little over what our income was, but if you'll notice, our programming costs, most of those funds that come in go to 94% of actual programming. So in any nonprofit, you want about 10% or less, so we have continued to maintain that standard. So here's my highlight that I actually love sharing with you guys, especially surrounding the Robert Sunny Hill Community Center. Unduplicated youth that we served in 2019 was 347 youth that came in and out of the community center during the hours of 3:30 and about 8 o'clock. It's a lot of kids. We average about 45 kids in attendance. Monthly overall attendance of everybody that's filtered through is about an average of 632, and total visits were 7,589 last year. We served a total of 6,603 meals to kids. So the Robert Sunny Hill, the after-school and evening program is I think that's a little hard to see, I apologize, but this is our budget. And it's the budget that we have relied upon to submit for our Community Development Block Grant, which the city has been very generous to fund us for the last 3 years. Last year it was at $60,000, but as you can see, our budget is about $70,700. And if you average that over the year, it's about $27 per week per child or per youth that comes through the community center. I know that there have been priorities that have been talked about for the Community Development Block Grant dollars, but I just want to make a case that that money that you do allow us to have out of that grant is well used. So highlights for CBI is we opened the Employment Center in March of last year. We had 61 clients that came through. 10 of those obtained employment, either first-time employment or better employment. Butler County Jobs and Family Services brought representation back to the community center. They come in twice a month, so it's bringing their services back where they can meet a caseworker one-on-one instead of going to Hamilton. And then the Together We Can, we served over 700, we gave away over 750 backpacks. Last year, we had 60-plus volunteers and 30-plus community partners that helped pull off that event. And then for new in 2020, so a little history about this is in the last few years, we've served about 100 to 125 kids where we've directly got them connected to an early education program. So as we looked to last year, we saw that our numbers dipped pretty considerably. So the kids we got connected were at 53, but our new clients had never dropped. So what we were suspecting is that we were saturating the area right around the community center. So we wrote a grant, and we were able to go ahead and take the PRC on the go, which we're very excited about. So we can take our services. It's actually to Midtonian Apartments, sorry about that, but we're partnering with Community of Christ Church, as well as partnering with Baraka for Freedom Court Apartments. So we'll be offering actually 4 times at each, once a week at each site. We'll offer free diapers, wipes, and formula, as well as hopefully, once we build that clientele, we'll begin free play groups there that are focused on early education as well. So that's our new on the go for 2020. So that was a really high view. But what I wanted to say to the council is that you guys have been incredibly supportive of us. And one of the goals I think the council had when we first partnered with the City of Middletown to offer the services in the community center was to bring it back, to bring back vibrancy to that center, and I think we've done that. If you were to see over at the center tonight, we left it and it was rocking. In just about every space, we are running out of space actually, but that's a good thing to have, right? So I just wanted to say thank you for partnering with us, for believing us, to continue to want to do that, and continuing to partner with us, I hope, financially moving forward. So with that, I'd love to open it up to any questions.
I know Susan and I had the chance to meet with you guys last week, and you guys are really doing incredible things. Very proud of you, and also for the community for getting involved.
Thank you.
Just a thank you for all of your work and everything you guys do.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, dear. Can I have a mouse? Thank you. I guess. Thank you.
All right, this evening, citizens' comments. It looks like we have a big stack of these, so we are going to keep to the 3 minutes rules of chamber, and we'll have Susan be the moderator for that. Yeah, we'll just let her go ahead and do that.
They're numbered.
Just to.
Perfect. So we would ask that everybody keep their comments to 3 minutes, as is the rules for this chamber.
I also want to say real quick, I'm appreciative that we have people who want to speak, so it's not
Absolutely.
negative at all, so thank you for coming and participating.
Absolutely. I will let you know as you're speaking if we get to that 3 minute mark. Our first one is from Todd Bailey. If you could state your name and address for the record.
Happy to do so. Good
Thank you.
evening, everybody. My name's Todd Bailey. My home address is 7300 Algonquin Drive in Cincinnati. I'm here this evening as probably the least experienced pilot in the room. I'm a student pilot at age 68 years of age, and my certified flight instructor would tell you that I'm a work in progress. I have landed at the Middletown Airport numerous times in the course of my lessons. And as a student pilot, I can tell you that the active drop zone, where it's currently located, right proximate to the active runway, is extremely distracting. Let me assure you, and more experienced pilots will vouch for this as well, when you're on final approach, and you're managing a very active and dynamic environment with the airplane, crosswinds, speed, power management, all of the things that are going on, to then have literally people dropping out of the sky to generally the right of you, but sometimes to the left of you, as you're on final approach is a very distracting situation. I'd also point out that the pattern typically has a pilot on downwind to the north and western side of the paved runway. And the proposed drop zones, and I did attend the retreat, by the way, and I found that to be very helpful in looking at the different drop zones that were proposed, and looking at the chart that was sent out by Matt in preparation for this opportunity to speak with you this evening. One observation that I would make is that proposed zones 4 and 1 keep the jumpers on the other side of the pattern for the downwind part of the use of the runway. And that is far preferable, in my opinion, to having active drop zone in areas 2 or 3, because then you're going to have the jumpers closer to the downwind portion of flying the pattern. So to the extent that you were asking for comments as to a preference or rank ordering by an inexperienced pilot, I would recommend that you look at Area 4 as the preferred location, because it's going to be the farthest away from the final approach, number 1, and the farthest away from the downwind portion of the pattern. Less desirable would be number 1, but it still accomplishes that. And then 2 and 3 would be least desirable because they're most proximate to the downwind portion of the pattern. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
And I apologize ahead of time, I am going to butcher this name. Ernest Streifhow? I apologize, sir. If you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Mayor Condrey, council members, thank you for letting me speak. I'm pretty much going to just reiterate what was said previously here.
So are you able to speak your name and address for the record? We have to have that for our comments. Your name and address.
Ernest Streetfall, and 233 South Cherry Street, Germantown, Ohio.
Thank you.
I've been flying out of Middletown for about 54 years. And we've been able to coordinate with different interests down there. I flew corporate for Armco out of there. We have jets coming in. We had home-built airplanes. We had little gyrocopters. We were able to communicate and play by the rules and get along. And all I'm asking is that I'm all for the moving of the jump zone, and I think it needs to stay southward of the main runway. I understand Smith Park is one consideration. I don't have the diagram with me here, but I think that would make more sense, because you would have direct access for trucks and ground vehicles without having to, there we go, thank you, without having to cross the taxiways or the runway and be a hazard. And in fact, 4 looks good, but to me, you could move it up closer to the boundary line of the runway. I think you probably have more room there than you have down here in the ball diamonds, but that's neither here nor there. But I'd just like to say that from a pilot's perspective, I've flown in and out of there as a commercial pilot. I've flown out of there as a student pilot, 14 years old, and I've flown out of there now as an old man, 68 years old. So, but like John and I fly antique airplanes down there, and those airplanes love to be on the grass. And we love our grass runway, and we're proud of it. And not only does it have a historical basis to it, but it's also one of the smoothest, most easily drained, well-kept grass strips lengthwise and width. It's just, it's idyllic, and it's one of the best. You can be very proud because it's the best in the state of Ohio as far as I'm concerned, and I've seen a lot of. But if that runway is used for any purpose besides
Sir, you're hitting your 3-minute mark.
aircraft, then I think it would be an irretrievable loss to our heritage and our people here in town. Thank you.
Thank you. Next party is Louis Flenner. I probably butchered your name too, sir. You could state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Louis Flenner. I live at 116 North Grime Street. I have a few complaints. One is I don't know who is responsible to picking up the couches, the tires, and everything else that's laying along the alleys, especially Church Street. There's a truck there that looks like it's been there for 20 years, and things like that. My second complaint is ladies of the night. You have some of your city workers, and I know personally, I've seen them trying to pick up the girls. As a matter of fact, one gentleman gave his phone number to one of the girls. I was sitting over there, and I started giggling to myself. And I said, what did he want? And he wanted to pick her up and take her someplace, because he had a spot that he knew that he wouldn't get in trouble for. And as a taxpayer, I don't appreciate them guys on steady time trying to pick up the girls. This isn't the first time, I've seen it several times. And one of the girls I talked to a lot, I asked her why she didn't get in the car with him, the truck, because she doesn't trust the city workers. So, but that is one of my complaints. I don't have enough time to give more, but I really don't appreciate it. You know, that's, everybody in this room, that's their money. They're there to do a job, and they need to start doing it. Somebody needs to, their supervisor, I know you can't watch everybody, but they need to be held accountable for what they're doing out there. And that's it.
I've got your phone number. I'll follow up with you.
Okay.
Okay? Mm-hmm. Our next comment is from Tom Anderson. And sir, if you could state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Tom Anderson. I live at 5401 Crooked Tree Drive, Mason, Ohio. I've been renting a hangar at the airport for the last 30 years, multiple hangars as a matter of fact. And I'm a licensed mechanic. I'm a retired aeronautical engineer, and so I have some experience with aircraft and how they operate and how the airport should function. And I appreciate you giving us the time to address this issue with you relative to the landing zones of the parachutists. You folks have made tremendous progress in the recent years taking back control of the airport and putting it as an asset and as a development opportunity for the city. Leaving the jump zones where they are significantly impacts that economic opportunity. But moving it to the area number 4 that they have mentioned would keep that airport available should the right situation arise to be able to do a proper development. The jump zones, where they are, and how pilots fly in direct vicinity of the airport is your decision, not the FAA's. You control how airplanes act in the pattern. The FAA does not specify that. They have recommendations, but the local FSDO and the Detroit ASO office does not dictate how patterns should be flown. That is really in your purview. And in fact, the pattern at the airport right now, both downwind for runway 5 and downwind for runway 23, are on the same side of the runway. One is a left-hand pattern, the other is a right-hand pattern. That has been that way for the 30 years that I've been there, and I suspect much longer than that. And that's basically dictated by the city. That's in your control. How airplanes enter the pattern and how they fly the pattern is also in your control.
So we'll need you to start wrapping up your comments
Okay.
at the 3-minute mark.
Okay. So I would highly recommend that as you proceed with the development of the airport, that you consider moving the jump zones to the area number 4.
Thank you. Our next comment will be from Ted Tracy. Mr. Tracy, if you could provide your name and address for the record, please.
My name's Ted Tracy, and I live at 7674 Lakota Hills Drive in Westchester. And I am a tenant also at the airport. I keep a small sport biplane there. I've been doing so for about 2 years now, so compared to the more experienced gentlemen in the area, I'm a relative newcomer. I was recommended the Middletown Airport because I needed a hangar for the airplane, and they had availability. I was buying a new airplane, and I needed a place to keep it. It's a fairly expensive investment. And the airplane I have is a fabric-covered airplane. You can't leave it outside. So Middletown was attractive because they had available hangars. I had arranged for a hangar before I purchased the airplane, and a friend of mine and I arranged to ferry the airplane back home. We flew it back home from Austin, Texas. So it was 2 very long days. I would say that my comments in conjunction with the other folks here, we understand that the airport is a viable resource. It's a very valuable resource to the city of Middletown. It's got a lot of potential, as is evidenced by the Butler Tech addition with the educational opportunities. We know there's several businesses on the field providing economic incentive out there, providing jobs for people that work at the airport with the maintenance facility and fuel and the fixed base operator and the hangar rent, in addition to the jump operation, start skydiving. The trick is making everybody comfortable and working and playing safely in sometimes complex environment. I didn't know any of that when I showed up. I just showed up with the airplane. And I've been feeling my way, getting my way, knowing my way around. But on day one, we came in after 2 very long days, and we were a little tight on gas. So we had the airport picked out. We were on our way in, and we knew we had enough to get there, but things were a little tight. Well, as I was flying in, landing on runway 5, fortunately, that day I didn't have to worry about dodging skydivers, but I was concerned about getting on the ground because of the fuel. So unfortunately, bounced the landing. As I went around, I noticed that the grass strip was right below me. So I was happy to have that available to me that day, landed on it, best landing of the trip. Love to see that be prioritized in the future.
Thank you, sir. Mm-hmm. Our next comment will be from John Labar. John Labar. Oh, there. Makes sense.
My name's John Labar. I live at 11714 Montville Drive in Cincinnati, Ohio. Appreciate the time and opportunity to address the council about the airport. I'm an airline captain. I've been an airline captain and a pilot for Delta for 30 years, pilot for 42 years, aircraft owner for about 30 years. I've rented 2 hangars at Middletown Airport for 15 years. Flown light airplanes, military airplanes. My job as an airline captain, obviously airliners. So trying to give you a little perspective of my experience. I think the council has a tough job because the airport obviously has taken FAA money, so you have to obviously play by some of the FAA rules. And that big rule that I am familiar with is treating the users equitably. And that means the skydivers, that means the pilots, that means everybody. I don't think any of these drop zone choices are good. If I was with the skydivers, I wouldn't like any of them. So, but you're gonna have to decide on where to go with that. I don't think any of them are ideal. Everybody's talking about the Smith Park one. Then what are you gonna do with ball diamonds and soccer fields? So it's gonna be tough. Appreciate the opportunity. I think the main thing is to treat all users equitably. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next comment will be from John Hart II. Please let us know your name and
It's John Hart, and my address is 1937 Wilbraham, Middletown, Ohio. People here. Yesterday, I lost a teammate in Sebastian, Florida. He was killed because he made a low turn. And what you're looking at doing is disrupting 12 years of safety that we've had here in Middletown. We intentionally, with the help of the FAA, who was Paul McGowan, who was a representative and specialized in parachute operations, he came here with us when we came here and helped designate the safest areas on the airport. He said, most experienced here, your middle, and your least experienced. And so we were able to create a separation of traffic. Well, yesterday, we were in an environment where there is no separation of traffic, and there were multiple plane loads, and an inexperienced skydiver was in the path of my teammate, who was a professional skydiver. And he made a poor decision, but it was a decision that saved the life of the inexperienced skydiver. We are in the safest spot in this airport. I've got a 2-hour presentation. I think there needs to be a town hall where we bring in the United States Parachute Association, AOPA, the FAA, and you get the facts. We're at the lowest point of the airport. I know I'm a pilot. I know corporate pilots, and they don't see this thread the needle thing. They go where they're supposed to go. They don't see a wall. They see a runway. And as pilots, we're trained to land on these runways. Not the fields, not the tarmac, on the runways. I personally believe that if you do what you're doing and you listen to a lot of the lies that you've been told by Matt Eisenbraun, and they're lies, and I'll prove that, you're going to be responsible for a fatality. And it will fall on you. We haven't had one here because of that. We have a separation of traffic. We communicate, and we work effectively. Our pilots are constantly working with ATC. And the big thing is, I hear jet traffic. Well, we're constantly communicating with ATC because every jet that flies in here has to file a flight plan. They're not going VFR. ATC is directing them in. And if they don't want skydivers in the air, they ask us, and we hold the jump runs. So there is no impact in that regard. But I'd like to see a town hall meeting where the public can be present, where we can voice our concerns, and we can address the lies that you've been told, because they are lies. The other thing is, you're putting us, a business, and I've got some people who can give me some time, so they'll just put their hands up. As a business, we are committed to this community. There is no business that gives more financially of their treasure and their time than my sons and I.
That's your 3-minute mark.
Okay. Can I get you 3 minutes? Thank you.
What's your 3 minute? Okay.
The way that this is being approached and the way it's been treated is a vendetta. This isn't about safety, because there's nothing unsafe about what we do. We're an aviation activity, and we need to be treated fairly. And you need to hear the facts, and we need the opportunity for you to truly hear from experts, not people that were hired by Matt to give what you want to hear or what he wants you to hear. I agree. This airport is an economic engine, and it has so much potential. It really does. But you're not going the right direction with it. And moving us, you're talking about drop zones, and now the community is all upset with Start Skydiving because we're taking away the park. We're not taking away the park. That park should be untouchable. You shouldn't even be considering Smith Park, ever, for anything, other than to serve the people of this community. And for us to get blamed out here right now because it's us, it's not us. We are in the safest spot, and that's a fact. And I want the time for you to see the facts. We bring people to this community, up to 40 to 45,000 people a year. They drink in the restaurants, they eat, they stay in hotels, they buy fuel here. There is a large economic impact that we bring to this community. And we are a valued partner that's committed to Middletown. And so what I'm asking is that town hall meeting. It needs to occur. And the information that you've been given that's inaccurate needs to be addressed. We're here to work with everybody. We are an aviation activity. We're also protected, as was previously stated, through the Federal Grant Assurance Act. And we are going to protect who we are. And we're going to look out for every pilot, because that's important. I get to bury a friend. We don't want to see people get hurt. We don't want to have, problems. That's not our goal. But to move us anywhere than where we're at, I can guarantee you that you're going to put us in the downwind of 2305. And we have the statistics to show that we will be flying virtually every day, because the winds are coming out of the north and northwest in that area. We will be flying through that downwind pattern. There will be parachutes. And right now they don't exist in the downwind because of where we're located at. And that is dangerous. Now, I could go on for 2 hours, but I'm asking that you allow us to show you the facts. Okay? On another note, I have brought potential businesses to this community. Research and development from the aerospace industry.
That's your second 3 minutes.
Alex, can I have yours? I've got about 2 hours of people that'll work with me. Billion-dollar companies, okay? Aerospace research and development actually considered Middletown. We did some things last year here that have never been done before. We extracted a person off the ground from 4,000 feet with a cable. And they actually considered maybe we should look at relocating to Middletown. Matt never showed up, Doug never showed up, only one person showed up, and that was the airport manager. He's the only one that showed up. And you know what? You all don't even listen to him. He even thinks the person he works for is full of shit. They didn't come here because nobody gave them the time. A billion-dollar company that was considering 60 employees located right here in Middletown. But it wasn't his idea. It wasn't my idea. It was just an opportunity to meet him. But you're being misled. And I want the community to know that we're committed to this community. That it's not Start Skydiving that's out to close your soccer fields or your baseball diamonds or your park. It's one man. And it's a fallacy. And it's wrong. And it's time to call the liar out. I want a town hall meeting. And I want the FAA there, I want AOPA there, and I want the USPA there, where those professional representatives can give you the facts. And we can show you what will happen. I don't want to bury another person. Thank you for your time.
While I have you up here, can I just make sure we have clarity for the community? I wanted to make sure everyone did realize, I did reach out to you this week and provided you a copy of the drop zone proposals and asked you to provide written feedback and welcome that. I just want to make sure we were all clear that there was some communication that we have asked for your written feedback.
Correct.
Okay, thank
We
you.
want to present that feedback. We don't want to give you something in writing. We want you to see it, because there's going to be questions. And we want the opportunity.
I understand that. I just want to make sure we were all on the same page and everyone knew that we did reach out and have asked you to provide written feedback. You'd indicate you'd be happy to do so.
Real quick, did we ever reach out to Sean Kendall, who was evicted?
I did reach out to Mr. Kendall. If you'd like to talk about that, I'd be happy to talk to you after the
Yeah, I
meeting.
would.
Uh-huh.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next comment is Levi Kramer.
Good evening. Levi Kramer, 24 Aberdeen Drive, Middletown, Ohio. Whenever you're ready.
Great.
Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor Mulligan, members of council, I will keep this brief as I know you've got a huge stack of papers of people wanting to speak this evening. My name is Levi Kramer, and I am here today to express some concerns I have with some things I'm seeing come from this chamber. Last November, I came within 4% of having a seat in this chamber by running a slogan called A Voice for the People. I'm not here to play sore loser, but I am here to be that voice for the 24 or so people that have reached out to me asking for somebody to do something. I'm concerned with the way this council is spending money, and I know I'm not the only one that is. Former Mayor Mulligan was very straightforward about the need for an additional $6.5 million for road pavement. According to this own budget, which I was able to see through the wonderful transparency that you guys do on the website, we brought in a little over $137 million in revenue last year with a surplus of about $11 million. The year before that, that surplus was about $13.2 million. Now, I understand that a surplus is important for an emergency, but ladies and gentlemen, our roads are at a state where we are at an emergency. After public safety, those roads need to be our top priority. Every one of you has claimed that this is a high priority, both as an office holder and as a candidate for the seat you're in now. I really would like to see this chamber start acting like that. For this council to consider raising license plate fees to the tune of $235,000 a year, or just 3.6% of what's needed for roads, while running that sort of surplus and throwing $600,000 at a few pieces of property without a city appraisal, is an absolute slap in the face of the taxpayers of this city. It is simply appalling. Thank you, Mayor Condrey, for being the only one willing to speak up and say that something doesn't look right here. I appreciate that. Now, I understand that this city needs housing stock. I really do, and that's what that land is slated for. But that should not be taking priority over pavement of our roads. Airport renovations also should not be seen as a higher priority than these roads. Council, your citizens go to work, they go to church, they go to school on those roads in cars, not in private airplanes on these tarmacs. I'm hearing pilots talk, and I'm hearing a lot of things. I'm hearing Cincinnati, I'm hearing Mason. Other than John Hart, I haven't heard Middletown. These people do not live here. The people that do live here are frustrated at the state of this road. Talk to any of your constituents. Talk to any of them that have voted, any of them that have just comment on these social media sites. Roads is the top priority for them. All of you have listed it as a top priority. I hope that we can go and see that as a top priority. Now, I'm not going to speak too much about the airport plan because there are a lot of folks here, but the one thing that I will say is that I did sit in debates with both of you 20 feet away from me 3 separate times where you said that parks are a high priority for you. I've seen the emails you've sent to members of this community saying that you don't think that Smith Park is the best place for this drop zone. I appreciate that. I really do. I hope that you continue to think that way when you're posed with this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
David Pierce.
Good evening, Dave Pierce, 607 Terra Oaks Drive, here in Middletown. Tonight I'm representing the Ohio Challenge, which is our annual balloon festival and event that occurs every July. I have 2 comments, 2 things I want to talk about. One is the obvious impact to the Ohio Challenge if a drop zone is selected within Smith Park. And then I want to talk about how do we collaborate more? How do we up our game on communication and get the users of the park involved with the planning of the park, which includes the airport. It's unnerving to read about plans about the park in the newspaper. You hate surprises. Everybody hates surprises, right? We have got to figure out how to collaborate better with one another. Because to date, the Ohio Challenge has not been involved in any communication about changes at the airport and how they may impact Smith Park. We want to change the conversation. I did email Matt the day when the article came out in the Journal News. And at full disclosure, the Ohio Challenge has a meeting with Susan and Matt on Thursday for you to understand the Ohio Challenge event a lot better. This year's going to mark the 18th year of the event. Most of you have probably gone, very familiar. I'm not going to get into that. But we bring tens of thousands of people in that 2-day event. And most of those people that are coming are from outside of Middletown, and we've got data that supports that. So this event is a regional draw, and it's evolved into Middletown's signature event, right? So the event requires us to use darn near all the space at Smith Park, and Zone 4 is a huge amount of space. And we've historically used that ground for tethered rides, launching of balloons, especially putting up special shaped balloons. We've used it for the hospitality tent for the balloon pilots. We've used it for excess parking needs for those balloon pilots or overflow parking. And any reduction in that open space at the park will impair the Ohio Challenge. Not knowing the details about what a drop zone in the park really means, I can't go into detail. I just know there's going to be a significant impact if there's restricted. Yeah, it's okay. So I'd like to build on, I'd read your comments in the paper about your willingness to ask the city staff to seek feedback. We're raising our hand and we'd like to provide that feedback and we'd like to get involved in the process. Thank you.
Thank you. Next one will be from Pete Robinson.
Good evening. Pete Robinson, 5802 West Alexandria Road in Middletown, Ohio. Come here tonight on behalf of the Middletown Youth Soccer Association. I'm going to give you a little information about who we are and what we do and the impact of your proposed drop zone number 4. Middletown Youth Soccer Association was established in 1986 with a mission to develop and encourage sportsmanship, fair play, and skills training in the game of soccer for area youth. Our organization administers recreational and competitive leagues that serve over 1,000 area youth ranging in ages from 5 to 19 each year. In 3 weeks, Smith Park will be the site of the 23rd annual Spring Blast Soccer Tournament, consisting of 180 teams in 30 divisions participating in 306 matches on 25 fields over 2 days. It's going to be busy. If you don't like traffic, stay away. From March 22nd through May, we'll have over 160 competitive league matches take place at Smith Park. In September, we'll host our 16th annual Midfest Soccer Tournament. Last year, it drew 140 teams. It's a little smaller than our spring event. Our tournaments are the lifeblood of our organization. The revenue from the tournaments allow us to do our field maintenance. We do all of our own mowing, seeding, fertilization, everything for the fields. The buildings, we have the soccer building and the old baseball building, the Benedum building. We do all the maintenance on that, and we're consistently doing upgrades on that. Over the past 3 years, Middletown Youth Soccer Association has partnered with the Ohio Challenge and the Light Up Middletown to provide the funds to purchase the asphalt for the repaving of Smith Park. We've also used the money to keep up on our equipment, such as the soccer goals and nets. When you go through Smith Park and you see these fields with the nets and the goals and the manicured grass, that's Middletown Youth Soccer Association funds. It's not tax dollars. It's the money that we generate. The reason it's so important for you guys to know exactly what our mission is and where we stand in this, if the area that was designated as drop zone number 4 is implemented, our ability to continue serving our local youth at the current levels that we've done since 1986 will be in serious jeopardy. Middletown Youth Soccer Association's mission to continue serving our local youth is in your hands with this decision. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next comment from Bill Becker.
Good evening, council.
Thank you, sir.
All right, well, I'm one of the few people that could probably say that I've held that seat, your seat,
If you
Steve's
state your
seat.
address for the record, first, Bill. You can state your address for the record, please.
Sorry,
Yep.
Bill Becker, 4738 Longford Drive, here in Middletown, Ohio. Been here for a long, long time.
Mhm.
I'm here tonight to represent Light Up Middletown and the Grandpa Gang. The first we knew anything was going on with the airport in Smith Park was when I read it in the paper after your retreat. You know, I've been part of many, many retreats, so I know how retreats are. And I know how Mr. Richter likes to report them, but that's okay. I'm glad he did. We wouldn't have known about it. Yes, you do. Probably the thing that really got me when I first read the article was just a couple quick comments. Officials are proposing to expand the airport boundaries by including the land used for soccer and lacrosse teams for the drop zone and add more hangars in the area of the runway. From Mr. Eisenbrun. And then while there is nothing happening on any plans in the southwest of the park, Eisenbrun said the area could still be used for Light Up Middletown, Ohio Challenge, et cetera, et cetera. If you've been to Light Up, and you probably have, we take pretty much the whole park. We bring in 90,000 people or so. And as Pete said, we've been putting money back into that park for several years. All the paving done in that park, in conjunction with the Public Works, is a result of Light Up, the Ohio Challenge, and the soccer folks. Parks are such an intricate part of a city. You guys know that. You know, when I left here, I went to Deerfield Township for several years. They have some of the finest parks I've ever seen in my life. But it draws people, and people are so proud of those parks. And Smith Park is the jewel of Middletown. My kids started there. My grandkids have played there. And I would hope that future grandkids, there's got to be an answer. I understand the airport, and I understand drop zones. You know, us grandpas are going to be watching them flying and dropping all the time. But this council needs to make it clear to staff, Smith Park is off the table. That's for our youth. That's for, go over there any time of the year, and that park is busy. I was over there yesterday walking my dog, and there's people everywhere. We're over there putting lights up when it's very, very cold, and there's people in that park. It is the jewel of Middletown, and we should do nothing but try to improve it. But moving any part, and the one diagram shows the entire park as being part of the airport. Now, I don't know, I have all the facts because we weren't involved in any of the plannings. Nobody's asked us. But I can tell you that people love Smith Park. They love soccer. They certainly love Light Up, and they love the balloons. And there's a lot of other things going on in that park. The police department has moved National Night out there because they needed the room. The car shows, I could go on and on. I've contacted a lot of you and told you that. But we're here tonight because of what the paper said. It seems like it's urgent, and it's time to slow down. And if nothing else, council needs to make it clear to staff, no Smith Park, find a different solution. Thank you.
3 minutes, right on time. Old hat.
Done that before.
Impressive. Kathy Stites.
Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. And if you can say your name and your address.
I'm Kathy Stites, 374 Yankee Road, Monroe. I have been the tournament director at the Middletown Select Soccer Tournaments for 23 years. We are going on 16 years for the Midfest in September. I just want to give you a little bit of input about the economic impact that we have on this community. This year's tournament so far, we're at 180 teams for 2 weeks, 3 weeks away. We are at $1.7 million economic impact. That has been going on for 23 years in this community. Right now, we are at 700 hotel rooms, from Middletown to Dayton Mall to Westchester. And we just need to know that we still have a community to stay in. I give you a copy of our map, and if you can see Zone 4, we have 11 fields set up in that Zone 4 area. And this is the most we've had in that area, has been 25, 26 fields. This next tournament will have probably 25. So our tournaments are a big thing here in Middletown. One thing I would like to leave you with is speaking with Warren County. They've got a new soccer field park that they put in, $15 million. So if you look at moving us, it's going to be very expensive if the city decides to put us in another area, because you just can't play on gravel and grass. So it's a big area there. We do a lot of feeding, seeding, as Pete said, at the park. We've put new pavement in. We've put new things in all of our buildings. But we just wanted to let you guys know, and I wanted to give you a map of an area about what we do at the park.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want you to know, too, we're very grateful for all the effort you guys put in. I know there's a lot of volunteer hours that go into a lot of this, too. And thank you for the economic impact. It's awesome. Thank you.
Our next comment will be from Thomas Spillman.
Thomas Spielman, Aurora, Indiana, Geist Ridge. I'm here to speak about Stark Skydiving and the operations of the Stark landing zone. I am a commercial pilot, and I'm also an authorized FAA air boss. Though I am not here to speak on behalf of the FAA, I can't speak about safety, and I can assure you this, that where the landing zone is today is without a doubt the safest spot on the airport. As a commercial pilot, I have flown into many airports all over the country, and there is not a problem coming in and out of this airport with skydivers. I have not had a problem with them. I have not seen any problem with skydivers. I just hope the council reconsiders where they want to put the landing zone, because it's not safe on either end of the airport. You're right in the downwind pattern. You'll be right where the pilot makes his turn onto the runway. It is not a good place to move the drop zone to the end of the runway. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Next comment is Betsy Hanneman.
Good evening. My name is Betsy Hanavan. I live at 800 South Main Street. As a citizen of Middletown, and more importantly, the parent of 3 young athletes, the proposal to remove fields from Smith Park is extremely concerning to me. Smith Park is one of our greatest assets, and it would be devastating to render it unusable for youth sports, large events, or general community enjoyment. We've heard from many pilots this evening, and while I respect their opinions, many of them live outside of Middletown. I live on South Main Street, and I see far more skydivers than I do pilots and planes, and therefore I do question how much they would truly be impacted. Many local groups have spoken this evening and shared that a news article was the first they heard of the proposal. So that makes me say, I hope those proposing these ideas have a vested interest in our city. These ideas and proposals impact us, the people that live here. I hope these proposals, and any proposal for that matter, are being made with the best interest of the city and the citizens at heart. Once and for all, we need to put egos aside, and we need to start acting in the best interest of our community, and most importantly, our children. And as a side note, I too am a pilot. I've been flying since I was 13 years old, and I can tell you the only thing I look at when I'm landing an airplane is what's straight ahead of me, and that is the runway. Not what's beside me, not what's behind me, but where I'm landing, period. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next comment will be from John Hart III.
Good evening. My name is John Hart, not to be confused with John Hart II, but I live at 5329 Rensselaer Estates. Actually, most of what I was going to say, he kind of took, so he probably should have took my time instead of Alex's, but that's okay. I do have a couple things. I can give you this little snippet of what I would want to share with you all during the town hall session. And most of that entails the safety of our sport and the safety of our operations, for that matter, because honestly, we've been operating out of Middletown for over 12 years now, and we haven't had a single safety incident involving another aircraft. And so to say that it's unsafe where we're located is just, there's no basis in that. But then also, in addition to the safety side of it, there is the regulatory side of it, right? And while skydiving is self-regulated by the United States Parachute Association, there are some regulations that apply to start skydiving from the federal government. There aren't very many, though. Most of them, in fact, are all just regarding the equipment and how it's made and all that jazz. But really, most of it is self-regulated by the sport itself. And that's over the years and years of just experience and years of trial and error, really. And so we've found what works the best and what flows the best and what is most efficient and most safe with the other pilots on the airport. And honestly, where we're at right now is the safest place. We have no intention of wanting to move. All these proposals, I mean, the first time I had heard of the whole Smith Park thing, that was during the retreat. And the only other areas I had seen were the other 3 areas. But nonetheless, I saw that during the retreat, and I just thought to myself, why? Like, why move us at all? I mean, really, we are not impacting any operations where we're currently located. And where we're at is the safest and most efficient location. And so, anyways, there is a lot more to be said. And like I said, I would love to share that with you during the town hall. But there is a lot more to it than what has been presented to you. And so that's really all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next comment will be from David Henry.
Hi, good evening. David Henry from 5987 North State Route 741, Clear Creek Township. Used to live in Middletown. I just relocated to have larger property. I'm one of the pilots for Start Skydiving. I was the pilot in command of the aircraft yesterday where the incident occurred with our teammate. I agree with John Hart. I don't want to see that again. Landing zones are too close for experienced and inexperienced canopy pilots to be together. So the way that we're located right now with the landing zones being separate, you've heard a couple people talk this evening about how a runway is. You look ahead, right? I'm a flight instructor. Matter of fact, some of the people in here you have talked this evening, I may have flown with in Start Skydiving's aircraft. So they've seen how safe our operations are. All right, let's look at this runway, right? Coming into land. Here's the approach in, 5, 2, 3, whatever you want it to be. Landing here. You go to take off, it's on the farther end of the runway, right? So land in the middle with your parachutes. Not much of an opportunity, right, for any incidents. So we're in a very safe location. Location number 1, there's an issue with that. If you consider that, a lot of pilots do run-ups, right? They add power, they hold brakes, and it's blowing air, right? Well, that prop blast. That's a very dangerous place for location number 1. Location number 2, and also number 1, you'd be taking away the grass runway from student pilots. Somebody else mentioned tonight, it's one of the greatest grass runways that we've got in this area, and I hate to lose it. So number 1 and 2, definitely out of the way. Number 3, location number 3, it's too close to downwind traffic. 5 and 2, 3, it's all on the west side. Very dangerous. And number 4, I've had people from the soccer tournaments this evening. Definitely don't want to take it away from them. Don't take it away from our kids. So please, let's keep it right where it's at. And any extra time, John Hart, like that?
Thank you, sir. Last and certainly not least, Kyle Lewis.
Kyle Lewis, 200 Airport Lane, Jackson, Ohio. Mayor, City Council, thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm with the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association. I'm the Regional Manager for Government Affairs and Airport Advocacy in the Great Lakes region. Cover airport issues in 8 states, all the way out to North and South Dakota, including some parachute operations and anything aeronautical we can get involved in. I've heard a lot of things tonight, some emotional. I think a lot of times emotion drives a lot of people. It's good to take the emotion out of it. I think a good way to do that is get all the facts on the table. In 3 minutes, you cannot share all the aspects of aviation and skydiving to City Council. There's a lot of federal aviation regulations involved with, traffic patterns, even the skydiving drop zones and things like that. There are some regulations, like Mr. Hart II said, not a lot, but there are some. And I think it's good that City Council understands everything before they make a decision. I'm not here to offer anything on the proposals of the drop zones, but I'd like to be here to present AOPA as a resource. And the airport is important, not just to Middletown, but to the National Airspace System. It's part of the NIPIAS, which is the National Plan of Integrated Airports. The FAA views it very important as they provide federal funding for it. And under that federal funding, there are some strings attached, so to speak, with economic non-discrimination. Mr. Hart spoke about, so I think you need to be very wary of some of those issues as you go forward. And also that turf runway, I will say, I've landed on it a couple of times. It is a very nice turf runway. And it would be horrible to see that go away because across the country, turf runways are disappearing at a very rapid rate. So it is an asset, and I think some of the pilots here would agree that it would be best to keep that. So that's all I had to say, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. That was all the comments I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, everyone, for sharing your comments, and thank you for many of you who are waiting out this meeting for a pinning ceremony, I know. So next we have our city manager report.
I'm going to try and be as brief as possible so that these nice people waiting for pinning can get to where they are. But I just wanted to give you an update on a few things. First, we're working on finishing an RFP for fencing on paperboard, so you'll see that come out here in the next couple of weeks. Wanted to make sure you understood that was going on and moving forward. Remind you that next meeting on the 3rd of March, we will have a 5 p.m. work session in conference room 2C here in the city building to address and look at our CDBG funding opportunities for the 2020 fiscal year. We had some comments tonight about the vehicle registration, and obviously our roads are a great concern to all of our citizens, as well as I believe everyone here and all of the staff for the city. I've had some comments from council members come in here in the last couple days asking to table that proposal for this evening. I've received a majority of council asking to table that proposal with the idea that we want to sit down and go over all of the options to get a road plan together. And I will be getting that organized for you, but we will table the item tonight for the increase in the vehicle registration fee. I anticipate, looking at the current schedule with my vacation, we will probably hit that no later than the first meeting in March, or in April. But we'll try and get something organized before then to get a comprehensive plan together. My last point, I love hearing everyone here today. I'm happy everyone's here to speak so passionately about the airport and what assets we have in the city to develop. I think there's been a lot of false information or half stories getting out on Facebook and other social media. We welcome these conversations, and I think it's important for community members to be able to weigh in, but nothing has been decided up to this point. I've heard wonderful comments on Facebook about how, we're concreting in Smith Park Pond tomorrow. That's simply not the case. This is the first part of a conversation that we need to have, according to the FAA, to plan what the long-term use of the airport's going to be. It's an important conversation. I have solicited from as many stakeholders as we could find, and we will continue to do that up to and anticipating a conversation at our next meeting on the 3rd about, now that we've collected all this data for you, how do we want to move forward? If anyone out there would like to weigh in, I'm happy to take that on my email. It's susanc@cityofmiddletown.org. But please know that no matter what you're hearing out there, there's no decisions that have been made. We need to present all options so that everyone has the ability to weigh the choices and make an informed decision. And we will move forward in the best manner we can, but I anticipate that's how we're going to go forward, finish collecting this data, and then we'll bring it back in front of you for the 3rd. And I think that is all I have this evening.
Thank you, Susan. Ms. King, could you please present the consent agenda for us?
For your consideration this evening, we have to receive and file the Board and Commission minutes from the Library Board of October 15th, October 29th, November 19th, and December 17th, 2019, and from the Board of Health from January 14th, 2020. To confirm the personnel appointments of Annette Accurso to the position of Historic Property Specialist in the Economic Development Department, Planning and Zoning Division, and Mark Horn to the position of Water Treatment Operator in the Department of Public Works and Utilities, Division of Water Treatment, and to confirm the promotional appointment of Pavel Myjakowski to the position of Fire Lieutenant in the Department of Public Safety, Division of Fire, to confirm the demotion of Mark Sam Allen from the position of Police Sergeant to Patrol Officer in the Department of Public Safety, Division of Police, to receive and file an oath of office for Eric Grindstaff, and to approve the purchase of 4 new Ford Fusions for detectives off the ODAS contract for the Division of Police in the total amount of $82,176 from Middletown Ford.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So move for adoption.
Seconded. Second. Thank you. Ms. Ganku, please call the roll.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Moon? Yes. Mr. Mulligan?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Ms. Vettori?
Yes.
And with that, I think we will turn it over to Chief Lawley, who is around here somewhere. There we are.
Good evening, Mayor Condrey, members of City Council, and City Manager Cohen. Once again, it's a privilege and an honor to be here tonight to promote one of our firefighter paramedics to the position of Fire Lieutenant. This one's kind of a little more special because it kind of exemplifies an individual who has achieved the American dream right here in Middletown, Ohio. Our firefighter paramedic is Pavel Myjakowski. Pavel, if you and Bajina would come on up. Pavel was born in Olsztyn, Poland. I won't tell him the year.
Good. Thank you.
And Pavel came to the United States in 1989 and became a U.S. citizen in the year 2000. He got into the fire service in 1998, and luckily, the City of Middletown Division of Fire was able to appoint Paul to the position of firefighter paramedic in 2006. Pavel was promoted to squad person in August of 2008, and his son, Michael, was appointed to the position of firefighter paramedic in 2016. So we have a father-son. I think it's about the second time we've had a father-son duo in the City of Middletown Division of Fire. Ed, I think the Journal did a story on Pavel and Michael a few months ago. Pavel is special to us also because he's quite the athlete. Pavel competes in what we call the Firefighter Combat Challenge. He does that on a local, regional, state, national, and even an international level in the Firefighter Combat Challenge that you might have seen on ESPN. And a couple of years ago, he placed second in the international event for his age group. He competed in, he did the course in, what do we say here, 2 minutes, or 1 minute and 51 seconds. 1 minute and 51 seconds. Just to put that in a time frame, I did it in 4 weeks, 3 days, and 12 hours. We use the Firefighter Combat Challenge. It's made up of some fireground things that firefighters do on the scene, and it's put into a competition where we use a semblance of it for our entry-level physical agility tests. And to give you an idea, those candidates have up to 7 minutes to complete it, to move on in our hiring process. So if we did like about 30 candidates, probably about 22, 23 will pass it. So
Paul finished second a couple years ago at the international level, as I said, in 1 minute and 51 seconds, and your best time was 1:47. So it's you can say it's quite impressive. So with that, Paul entered into the lieutenant's testing process and has finished to come out to be the next firefighter paramedic that we appoint as a lieutenant. And actually, you're going to see me probably a lot over the next year and a half, because we're going to have some significant turnover at the leadership level in the Middletown Division of Fire. So a lot of our young guys are taking over, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So with that, Pavel brought his family. His wife, Bajina, will put the badge on him, and if your son and daughters want to come up.
Sure, please do. All of you. All four. So just gonna introduce real quick.
Yeah, go ahead and introduce.
Rosanna, my wife, Peter, Michael, Emilia, and Natalia.
Welcome.
I'm ready. All right. Thank you.
Congratulations.
I'd also like to present to Paul his new lieutenant helmets. The color of a firefighter's helmet signifies their rank structure within the Division of Fire. A black helmet signifies you as a firefighter. A red helmet signifies our commanders know that that's a lieutenant. Yellow helmets are a fire captain, and chief officers wear the white helmet. So Paul, your new lieutenant.
Thank you, sir. So I want to thank you, everyone, for coming, and it's a great opportunity and a new challenge, obviously, but I'm looking forward to it. I have the rest of my family that I'd like to introduce. My sister-in-law, Mariola, she's taking pictures. Her husband, Derek, and my father-in-law, Henry, and my mother-in-law, Christina. Okay? So I just want to thank everyone for coming. I wanted to thank everybody that showed up to support me. I want to thank, got a couple of special thank you. My Deputy Chief, Davey Adams, for keeping me safe, for being a good boss, and for believing in me. That's the main thing. Thank you for that. Also, I don't know if there is a retired, my previous lieutenant that just retired, Lieutenant Cobb. He just recently retired. Just wanted to say thank you for keeping me safe and believing in me. And I hope I taking your spot, because I'm replacing Tate's spot, actually. I'll try to do my best, and hopefully the department will be happy with me. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
On behalf of council, also, thank you for your entire family. Service is a family affair for sure, so thank you to all of you for serving our community.
I'm going to give them a chance to exit.
No, I do.
Would you like to move to the motion agenda?
Yes, Ms. Skink, will you please present the motion agenda?
To authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Howell Contractors, Inc. to proceed with a Rosedale Road water main, Dixie Highway water main replacement.
Do I have?
So
a
move for
motion?
approval.
Thank you. And a second.
Second.
Do you have any comments on this? Anyone? Okay, Ms. Skank, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mr. Mulligan?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Ms. Vettori?
Yes.
All right. Item B, to approve a contract with various vendors for the purchase of supplies for the Water Maintenance Division. Section 1, brass, Everett J. Prescott, West Carrollton, Ohio, $18,325.15. Section 2, repair clamps, Everett J. Prescott, West Carrollton, Ohio, $18,219.90. Section 3, valve boxes, sleeves, Everett J. Prescott, West Carrollton, Ohio, $27,668.90. Section 4, Alpha Repair Couplers, Everett J. Prescott, West Carrollton, Ohio, $8,553.78. Section 5, Gate Valve, EJ USA Incorporated, East Jordan, Michigan, $7,571.84. Section 6, Alpha Gate Valves, Ferguson Enterprises, Cincinnati, Ohio, $22,734. Section 7, Sewer Rings and Lids, Ferguson Enterprises, Cincinnati, Ohio, $10,020. Section 8, Miscellaneous, Everett J. Prescott, West Carrollton, Ohio, $2,883.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So move for adoption, sorry. Second.
All right, any comments? Ms. Skank, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Mulligan?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Ms. Vettori?
Yes.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
All right, council comments. Ms. Nenny, would you like to start us off?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First, I would like to congratulate our new fire lieutenant, Pavel Majikowski. And I would like to say happy birthday, Middletown. Our city turned 187 years old last Tuesday on February the 11th. We have a bright past, and we are working very hard towards a brighter future. With regards to the discussion on the airport, I'll share a little bit that I shared with some of the people who emailed over the past week or so. I grew up in Middletown, and I played youth soccer for most of my childhood at Smith Park. It's a wonderful thing to see the next generation doing the same. I've been out there in recent years and have seen the packed fields during Spring Blast, enjoyed the Light Up Middletown display, and walked my dogs on the paths there. It's a great attraction for visitors and residents alike. This council has no intention of taking a thriving park away from its citizens, and actually at the last council meeting, we unanimously approved the development of a new parks master plan that we can begin to develop a comprehensive understanding of the plan for the future of all of our parks. I personally can't wait to see what new ideas come from the study and then to share them with the public for feedback and collaboration opportunities. It was suggested by city staff at the retreat, where, mind you, we were also hearing for the very first time that one option for a new drop zone for the Start Skydiving team could be located inside the existing park, but that was not a preferred location and no decisions were made regarding any move. There are several other options for an alternative location which are inside the existing airport facility, including the current drop zone. I understand that there will be no immediate changes to the existing park or airport, and any rumors to the contrary are false. It is my stance that our parks are a valuable asset to our citizens and community and must be protected and improved. I would like to urge all of our citizens to continue to stay engaged and reach out to us when they have concerns. We are just like you. We live, work, and play here too, and we want the best for our community. With that being said, we do have a family fun activity coming up this weekend downtown that I would like to invite everyone to attend. DMI and the Dora businesses are hosting a Girl Scout cookie walk on Saturday from 1 to 5 p.m., and tickets are just $10 per person. So for more information, you can visit their event page on Facebook or Eventbrite. Thank you.
Mr. Moon.
Thank you. Yes, I'll go off what Monica was just saying. Several people have reached out to me about the proposal at the parks. What I have told them is at this point, I don't see taking over part of Smith Park as a realistic option. And just to piggyback what Monica was saying, this was not an item that we could have discussed in executive session. So as you said, as a group, we were seeing this for the first time as well that day. Jumping into a few other items, I would like to congratulate you, Monica, on being engaged publicly. Congratulations to you and Lucas. Want to congratulate our newest fire lieutenant, and then also mention to my colleagues, the Warren County Municipal League will be hosting our first monthly dinner tomorrow night at Houston's Lodge. The speaker will be Kent Scarrett, and if you haven't received an email, it's because we unfortunately lost our executive director very suddenly in January. So wanted to mention that tonight. If you're available, it starts at 6, Houston's in Mason. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Ms. Vittori.
Yes, I would like to thank everyone. I love when it's full, then it always gets so empty before we can even thank everyone. But I love communication, I love engaging with the public. I too responded to many people via email regarding the Smith Park issue. I'm always perturbed by miscommunication, so I've been aflutter since that retreat, because as my colleagues have already said, that was the first time we heard it, and it was being presented to us as here are an array of options. And none of those options, in my opinion, would ever remove park facilities from the area. I know there's one proposal that would move them. I'm not advocating for any of them. I don't feel like I have enough information. If you were at the retreat, I asked probably 25 questions, as is my normal manner. So no one up here takes this decision lightly, and there is no outcome where we have no park facilities. I have 3 little boys. We're there all the time, lacrosse, soccer. There's no way we're taking that away. So I'm optimistic to work with the public. I think we can collaborate and do so many great things. I had mentioned before it was our greatest asset, which I meant in the physical, literal way, because it's 600 acres, and that is what we own as our largest asset in the city. So I'm optimistic that we can all come together and find ways to make this really the jewel of our city, as it has been and will continue to be. So thank you for your engagement, and please continue to work with us and make this the best part of our city.
Mr. Mulligan.
Thank you, Your Honor. I too add my thanks to the people who attended tonight's meeting and shared some thoughts. It's always good to get public input, whether it's by email or coming for council comments, and that certainly will factor into our decision-making on this topic. We do have a lot of options, and we'll get informed more completely as the weeks and months play out. I'll add my congratulations to our new fire lieutenant and all the appointees that were appointed tonight as far as the city staff. And with that, I'll yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Just a couple things. First of all, I also want to thank everyone for chiming in on any comments that they sent, whether it be via email or actually showing up here in council. I appreciate that. I would encourage people, I hear a lot about complaints about people's neighbors having blight in their backyards and whatnot, and obviously we want to address that as much as possible. I'll also put a plug in though, as a community, let's see if we can help our neighbors, or if you need help, reach out to your neighbors, because we are in it together. So don't hesitate to communicate with each other as well, because we could ultimately help each other get rid of some of that in probably a more timely manner than getting the city involved in many cases, which we're happy to do. But the other thing is, I'd like to see people communicate support of things as well. We get a lot of comments from people that are in opposition, which is very useful. But from when we're making decisions, it's also helpful to hear if people think something is a good idea, and that would also help us to make our decisions a little bit more, seeing the full picture from what our citizens think. So that would help all of us, I think, as well. If you are in support of something, we'd love to hear from you in that way also. So that's all I have to say this evening. Thank you. We're going to move on to the legislation. Mr. Yoder.
That's part of the agenda. So with removal of the motor vehicle license tax ordinance, that leaves 3 items for passage tonight, the second one of which is proposed as an emergency measure. So before I get started, I'd just ask council to waive the charter provisions relating to second readings and effective dates.
I move that the charter provision requiring 2 separate readings be waived, and that the ordinance number 02020-11 be declared an emergency and read one time only.
Second.
Ms. Could you please call the roll?
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Ms. Vittori?
Yes.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mr. Mulligan?
Yes.
Great, so first item is resolution number R 2020-04, a resolution to make adjustments to appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Middletown, counties of Butler and Warren, state of Ohio, for the period ending December 31st of 2020, sewer fund, second reading.
I have a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second?
Any comments? Ms. King, could you please call the roll?
Ms. Vettori?
Yes.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes?
Mr. Mulligan?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Great. Second item is ordinance number O 2020-11, an ordinance consenting to real property tax exemption pursuant to revised code 5709.08, applicable to property owned by the city of Middletown, and more particularly described as Butler County Auditors, parcel number Q65110260000021, and declaring an emergency.
Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second?
Any comments? Ms. King, could you please call the roll?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear who seconded.
Was it Ms. Nenny?
I think it was Amy.
Okay, I'm sorry, I just didn't hear.
I started too.
Well, I was thinking,
Either one.
somebody said something, but I don't know who it was, I'm sorry. Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Moon? Mr. Mulligan?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Ms. Vettori?
Yes.
Third and final item is ordinance number O 2020-13, an ordinance establishing a procedure for and authorizing a contract with Badger Meter, Inc. for the purchase of water meters and declaring an emergency. No actions requested until the March 4th, 2020 meeting.
You don't have to? Okay.
So again, the ordinance O 2020-13, that's just a first reading, no actions requested until the March 4th meeting.
Isn't it March 3rd?
March 3rd.
Oh,
It's
March
a
3rd.
misprint in the.
My apologies for that.
In the
Thank you.
slides, it is March 3rd.
I never know what day it is. It's
Good
amazing.
catch, good catch.
Just to give you guys a little bit of background on that one, this is a contract to award the purchase of our water meters. We've been using Badger Meter since 2017. This is a one-year extension. I know council has expressed a request that we do not do these types of extensions. However, there was a concern when we implemented this one, we would not have enough time to put it out for bid. So we're asking that you approve that at this point, and we've sent the message to staff that hopefully we'll not see this happen in the future. But this is to make sure that there is no disruption in service. This is a company that served us since 2017. We've had a really good experience with them. They are waiving all price increases for 2020, so we feel this is the best deal and the best way to continue service through the next period.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Under the authority of ORC 121.22G4, preparing for, conducting, or reviewing negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment, and under the authority of ORC 121.22G8, to consider confidential information relating to the marketing plan, specific business strategy, production techniques, trade secrets, or personal financial statements of an applicant for economic development assistance, or to negotiations with other political subdivisions respecting requests for economic development assistance, provided that both of the following conditions apply. 1, the information is directly related to a request for economic development assistance that is to be provided or administered under any provision of Chapter 715, 725, 1724, or 1728, or Sections 701.07, 3735.67 to 3735.70, 5709.40 to 5709.43, 5709.61 to 5709.69, 5709.73 to 5709.75, or 5709.77 to 5709.81 of the revised code, or that involves public infrastructure improvements or the extension of utility services that are directly related to an economic development project. 2, a unanimous decision quorum of the public body determines by a roll call vote that the executive session is necessary to protect the interests of the applicant or the possible investment or expenditure of public funds to be made in connection with the economic development project.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Gank, will you please call the roll for us to adjourn to executive session?
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mr. Mulligan?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Ms. Vettori?
Yes.
All right, with that being said, we will adjourn after our executive session until the 3rd of March at 5 o'clock for a work session here in council chambers, and conference room 2C, sorry, thank you.
For the work session.
For the work session, and then at 5:30, we'll be here in council chambers for the next council meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.